Alright, hello everyone, Mukluk here. Today is Friday, June 24th, and if you're interested in the current up-to-date news on Guild Wars 2, there are two videos coming out today. This is one of them, and the other one centers around World v World changes. That video is going live right now, and then they just released this new post, so making another one on this. Now, this one centers around profession skills. So, let's just dive into it. Hi all, below is the profession balance section of the June 28th game notes. That means that the changes I'm about to discuss are not live today, they will go live in 4 days. The full game update notes will be published next Tuesday, shortly before the update is live. Once again, very important to point out there, they said the full notes will be posted in the future, so what is here, there is a lot here, but there will be more. Profession skills, items. Rune of Sanctuary. This rune now also converts incoming healing from healing over time effects such as regen into barrier. What that rune does right now is if you receive a heal, not from regen, you get a barrier based on the strength of the heal. It is that rune was notably used in the Mechanist Infinite Alacrity combo. They had a trait that every time they got a boon, they would also get a heal. Using that trait and this rune, every time they got a heal, they would get barrier. And using the Channeling Conduits trait there down at the bottom, every time you got Barrier, you would get Alacrity. And Alacrity was a boon, and it would start that whole Wonder Wheel over again. Now, they added some internal cooldowns onto the way that skill worked to try to break the infinite loop, especially in PvP, because at launch it was possible to have infinite Alacrity in PvP, and they added some short cooldowns to it so it wouldn't pulse as often. That's been the most popular use for Rune of Sanctuary I know of recently. But before it did not work with regeneration. So this rune now also converts incoming healing from heal over time effects such as regen into barrier. The effect now only occurs while in combat. To account for healing over time effects now activating this rune, the percentage of incoming healing converted to barrier has been reduced from 20% to 10%. Mist Offensive Potion. I believe that is the potion you use in Fractals to get a buff to your offensive stats. The Fractal Attunement Masteries now cause this potion to convert a percentage of agony resist into vitality instead of precision. That's nice, because if you were someone who cared about precision, you were probably already crit capped without that. So that was often wasted, and now you're getting vitality out of it. General, Fury, critical strike chance from Fury now increased from 20 to 25% in PvE only. Adrenal, Mushrooms, and Mistlock Singularities now reset Ranger, Pet, and Mechanist Mech command skill cooldowns when used. Oh, that's cool. So anyone who's ever done Fractals knows that when you get to a Mistlock Singularity, you could pop all your cooldowns that give boons, then hit the Singularity and your cooldowns come back up, start the fight, and use them again. Very popular trick with Guardians for a long time, just to get a ton of boons on the party. However, the Mechanist provides boons to the party with the Mechanist skills, and the Singularity was not affecting them. So you couldn't double cast those boons before a fight the way that Guardians could, until now. Alright, Elementalist, Fiery Greatsword. Clarified the skill fact for Lesser Fiery Eruption to indicate that each eruption can strike 6 times. The tooltip for Lesser Fiery Eruption now matches the actual target cap for this skill. Reduced target cap for Fiery Greatsword's Fiery Eruption and Firestorm skills to 5. Conjured Earth Shield. Stone Sheath increase cooldown from 8 to 12 in PvP. Magnetic Surge increase cooldown from 12 to 15 in PvP. Air. Zephyr Speed now additionally increases critical strike chance by 5% when attuned to air. Raging Storm increased the Fury duration to 4 seconds. The skill now applies to up to 5 allied targets within a range of 360. Increased internal cooldown to 8 seconds. Staff. Lightning Surge increased power coefficient from 0.91 to 1.13 in PvP and World v World. This whole staff section is PvP and World v World. Ice Spike increased the power coefficient from 0.91 to 1.13. Geyser increased the pulse base heal from 271 to 441, almost doubled. Geyser almost doubled. Frozen Ground reduced cooldown from 30 to 25 seconds. Healing Rain increased the number of conditions removed per pulse from 1 to 2. That is very cool. I spent in maybe 7,000 hours on Guild Wars 2. I've spent maybe a couple of weeks PvPing as an Elementalist, and I will say I have great respect for people that can do staff PvP. Talking about Conquest as an Ellie, it is very challenging but fun. And landing a good healing rain on your team, which is much easier in World v World than Conquest, but landing a good healing rain on your team and like shifting the fight because there's all the conditions are getting removed feels amazing. Weaver, Elemental Refreshment, now affects up to 5 allies in a circle with a range of 360. Tempest, Lucid Singularity, this trait has been reworked. It will now apply Alacrity to nearby allies upon successfully completing an overload. Duration is now 6 seconds with a radius of 360. Tempest can now provide Alacrity. Catalyst. Deploy Jade Sphere Air. The default boon applied by the sphere while in air attunement has been changed from quickness to fury in PvE. It still provides quickness by default in PvP and World v World. Deploy Jade Sphere. Damage coefficient per strike reduced from 0.6668 to 0.5 in PvE. Spectacular Sphere. This trait now increases the radius of Deploy Jade Sphere from 240 to 360 in all game modes. In PvE only, it causes Deploy Jade Sphere in air attunement to additionally provide quickness and reduces all outgoing damage dealt by 10%. Hammer skills. Stone Strike damage coefficient reduced from 1.1 to 0.9. It looks like this section for Hammer is PvE only. Singeing Strike damage coefficient reduced from 0.9 to 0.6. That's pretty massive. After cast animation delay before repeating, Singeing Strike has been reduced by 0.5. Stream Strike damage coefficient reduced from 0.8 to 0.5. Water Rush damage reduced from 1.1 to 0.5. Chilling Strike coefficient reduced from 1.4 to 1.2. After cast animation delay before repeating Stream Strike has been reduced to 0.5. Rain of Blows damage coefficient per hit, 4 hits, increased from 0.45 to 0.5 in PvE only. Interesting. So a very, very small buff to this, but it does a lot of hits, so that could add up very fast. Engineer Rifle. They gave a little teaser about this the other day. So Rifle's kind of in a weird place because it does some decent power damage, very long range, but not amazing power damage. So you don't really use it in PvE. You would use like Grenade Kit or Bomb Kit or something for more damage, maybe, or even swap between the two. In PvP, you know, you can do some work with its range. However, it's got some kind of conflicting skills. Like there's a trait that makes it to where when you hit an enemy with the rifle shots, you can sometimes fire an aim-assisted rocket at them. However, it has a minimum range. If you're close, it will not ever fire. And at the same time, the rifle has a skill called Blunderbuss, which hits for more the closer you are. So it was in a weird spot. Okay, Hip Shot has been replaced with Rifle Burst. Rifle Burst delivers a quick burst of fire that pierces targets, followed by an explosive grenade. Total damage coefficient increased from 0.65 to 1.0 in PvE only. So very large boost to damage, but in PvE only. I wonder if it would be enough to see Rifle actually used in, raid builds, fractal builds, stuff like that. Net Shot moved from second to third in the rifle sequence. Immobilization duration increased from 2 to 4 seconds in PvE only. Blunderbuss moved from third to second in the rifle sequence. Now additionally applies Might to up to 5 allied targets within a range of 360. Might applied is 5 stacks for 8 seconds in PvE and 3 stacks for 5 seconds in PvP and World v World. Cooldown reduced from 9 seconds to 6 seconds in PvE and from 12 seconds to 8 seconds in PvP and World v World. Increase minimum power coefficient from 0.5 to 0.87 in PvP and World v World. So as someone who enjoys support gameplay, Mechanists can already give max stacks of might, and their mace shield is great. Support Scrapper currently uses pistol and shield. The pistol does nothing. The shield's there in case you need the interrupts or to help do some a little bit of protection uptime. But support Scrapper struggles with keeping might on their party. A support Scrapper could possibly use rifle for more might uptime. Interesting. Increase minimum power coefficient from 0.5 to 0.87 in PvP and World v World. Jump shot. Max range increased from 800 to 900. The launch blast is now an explosion. So that means any of the traits in the explosions trait line could now affect that. Animation updated for more bounce. Reduce cooldown from 20 seconds to 18 seconds in PvP and World v World. Okay. Utility, throw mine. Reduce number of boons removed from 3 to 2 in World v World only. Yeah, a lot of people don't know this. Engineers can remove boons with one specific skill. They throw a landmine and then they get like a detonator and they hit the button and it blows up. And if you throw that into a huge pile of people in World v World, you can remove a lot of boons. Firearms. Hemetic Focus. Critical chance bonus increase from 10 to 15% PvE only. Pinpoint Distribution. This trait has been reworked. It now grants might to allies while in combat, applying 5 stacks of might with a 10-second duration on a 10-second interval. Very interesting. Okay, and there's another source of passive might, and this is in firearms. This could be easily taken by damage dealers. High caliber range threshold increase from 300 to 450. No scope range threshold increase from 300 to 450. Fury now applies up to 5 allied targets within a range of 360. Explosives. Aim assisted rocket. Minimum range threshold reduced from 450 to 150. This is what I was mentioning earlier. It didn't work well with the rifle before. Medical, let's see, inventions. Medical dispersion field. Oh, wow. This is one of the top traits for a healing engineer, any engineer. So what it does is 50% of the healing you get is copied to people around you. That includes regen. So every time a regen is ticking on you, it's ticking at half strength on everybody around you, in addition to their own regens. Plus, if you do like a huge self-heal, that if you heal yourself for 10k, you heal everyone around you for 5. Like it's often like one of your top sources of healing as far as like a single source goes. This trait now stores self-applied healing while in combat and expends all stored healing at each 3-second interval to heal nearby allies. This trait now functions with healing over time effects such as Regen, Big Boomer, Backpack Regenerator, and Rectifier Signet. What? To account for healing over time effects, now activating this trait, the percentage of healing stored from each heal has been reduced from 50 to 33% in PvE, 25% to 17 in PvP, and 15 to 10 in World versus World. So, wow. I don't think Backpack Regenerator would overcome Comeback Cure for Engineer. However, I wonder, right now, you take Medkit and you don't get a self-heal as a mechanist, but you get a few other miscellaneous things and the ability to heal other people. Rectifier Signet just heals you every second. This is me and my healing mechanist build, 319 healed every second, so that'd be 900 every 3. And this heals everyone around you every 3 for a third of what you've been healed over the last 3 seconds. So that means that just having Rectifier equipped with future version of Medical Dispersion Field as a healer would just be 300 health every 3 seconds on people around you. And you would have a self-heal again. And you could use the self-heal to heal the people around you for like 3 to 4k. I wonder if Healing Mechanist might be able to start using the Signet that came with Mechanist instead of Medkit. I'm very eager to test that when that comes out. Okay, cool, moving on. Mechanist. The Mech's Defiance bar is now locked so that it is no longer susceptible to control effects in PvE. Just flat out? I mean, that's kind of nice, and I don't really think that's unfair. The Mechanist in PvE is the main source of your party's boons or barriers in many cases, and hitting a button for it to do a command and then having it just get locked down by a random CC from the boss feels awful. The same feeling when you're playing Druid and you tell your Nature Spirit to mass revive everybody, and then it gets stunned by the boss, and it's on cooldown, and then that's it, and you're just like, okay, well, I guess we're wiping now. So that's cool. Can still be controlled, CC'd in PvP and World v World. Mech Arms Jade Cannons now additionally increases the mech's base crit chance from 5 to 25% in PvE, or from 5 to 10 in PvP and World v World. If explosives is traded with aim-assisted rocket, the mech also gains the effect of that trait. Oh, cool. Discharge Array. The mech command skill is now cast instantly. Confusion duration per hit in PvE reduced from 10 seconds to 5. Okay, so they're nerfing the damage a little bit, and that was a very strong skill. When using Mech Command skill, most other Mech Command buttons display a cooldown equal to the casting time of the Mech Command being used to properly indicate the time remaining until they can be used. Instant F2 skills, Discharge Array and Crisis Zone, do not go on cooldown and may now be used instantly while another Mech Command is already in progress without interrupting that skill. That's nice. That is really nice. So sometimes in combat, new mechanists will make a mistake where they will tell their mech to give them boons and it'll be channeling Barrier Burst. And then if they hit Crisis Zone or Explosive Knuckle or Rocket Fist Prototype, it'll interrupt this and then the boons don't get applied, which means sometime in the next 30 seconds, your party loses all those boons. And so all the experienced mechanists know, like, okay, wait till that's done before hitting the next command, but this makes it to where you can't muck it up. So I think that's good. Spark Revolver, damage increased by 10% PvE only. Rocket Fist Prototype, stun duration increased from 0.5 seconds to 1 second. Mech Fighter, the mech's rocket punch is now triggered whenever skill 3 is used on an equipped engineer weapon. Oh! Wow, okay. That means you no longer have to use the mace to get your mech to do the stun. Rocket Punch is now instant and no longer interrupts other skills the mech is performing. Rocket Punch no longer stuns and deals instead 100 Defiance damage to enemies with an active Defiance bar. Ooh, now that does not say in PvE only. So that might also mean the mech just lost its stun in PvP, which would be interesting. Core Reactor Shot. The Mech Command skill's animation duration has been reduced from approximately 1.5 seconds to 0.5. Yeah, that skill fired an arcing green shot, and the animation was so slow it would often miss or not reach the target in time. So them cutting that in half is not a surprise to me. Jade Dynamo, this trait has been reworked. It is no longer causing mech attacks to sometimes include an explosion, nor does it allow the mech to inherit the effect of the explosive traits. Instead, it now reduces the cooldown of mech command skills by 20% and grants quickness after a mech command skill is used. Now reduces the cooldown of mech command skills by 20% and grants quickness after a mech command skill is used. Wow, okay, so that's kind of like your mech's just always got alacrity. So that's just like your F1, F2, F3 skills have 20% faster cooldowns, and you get some quickness when using it. Interesting. Now, Jade Dynamo is usually taken by the DPS. That's usually taken by DPS, often the condition damage mechanist, but it competes a lot with the J-Drive trait. So honestly, as far as tier 3 traits, like the Grandmaster traits, that is the least used one right now. So they might be trying to fix that. Sky Circus. Mech Command skill now has improved visual effects. Instead of firing missiles only at enemies in a forward arc, and now fires missiles at enemies in a circular radius of 600. Superconducting Signet, vulnerability and confusion duration per hit reduced from 5 to 3. Wow, there's some really interesting stuff here. Very interested to try out like Rectifier Signet as a healer and see how it does. Also interested in trying out the rifle as a support and see how that does, especially now that you can access the Rocket Fist, Rocket Punch from the mech with any engineering weapon. That really opens up, some choices, and you're not just confined to one thing. Okay, Guardian, Valor, Strength in Numbers. This trait has been reworked and now grants protection to allies while in combat. Applying prot with a 3-second duration on a 10-second interval. Radiance, Amplified Wrath, burning damage increase reduced from 15 to 10 in PvE only. Perfect Inscriptions no longer grants Signet passive effects to allies when activated. Instead, Signets continue to provide their passive effects while recharging. Those are always fun. The skills that do the Signets continue to provide passive effects while recharging, those are very fun. Signets. A Signet of Resolve, decrease the passive effect's internal cooldown from 10 to 5. This effect will now protect the player from an incoming condition by immediately removing it, and then it begins its internal cooldown. The active effect now additionally removes 2 conditions from the player. That's cool. So it doesn't tick every 10 seconds, and if you don't have a condition, it continues to keep going. It waits for an incoming one before starting the cooldown. That's really nice. Signet of Mercy, cooldown reduced from 90 seconds to 50 in PvE only. Signet of Wrath, immobilize duration increase from 3 to 6 in PvE. Signet of Courage, cooldown reduced from 90 to 60. Active effect radius reduced from 1200 to 600. Now heals for a smaller amount in 5 small channeled healing pulses, followed by 1 large final heal. Now also channels protection, resolution, and stability on allies in the radius. Does not apply stability in PvP or World v World. I mean, did they really need more stability? I'm kind of surprised that they're getting another source of stability, but okay. Firebrand, Mantra of Solace, now grants Aegis instead of protection and resolution in PvP and World v World. Okay, so they're getting a source of Aegis back. Willbender Flowing Resolve, reduce the ammunition count from 2 to 1 in PvP only. Interesting. Mesmer, Dueling, Master Fencer. May now activate on any critical hit, granting 4 seconds of Fury on up to 5 allies in a circle within a range of 360. Internal cooldown is 8 seconds. Okay, so... So if they had a boon, like concentration gear, this would be permanent Fury. Or, just have this with another person giving Fury, and then you've got permanent. Virtuoso. Quiet Intensity, bonus critical chance from Fury, increased from 10% to 15% in PvE. Bladesong Sorrow, bleed on hit, removed. Oh. Chronomancer, seize the moment, radius increased from 240 to 360. Tides of Time now also applies quickness in a radius of 360 for a duration of 5 seconds when cast. Lost Time, reworked and renamed Stretch Time. Stretch Time, the final pulse of a well will also apply Alacrity for 4 seconds to allies near the well in a radius of 360. Tides of Time now also applies Alacrity in a radius of 360 for a duration of 5 seconds when cast. Okay. Shield skills. Tides of Time cooldown reduced from 40 to 35 seconds. The stun enemy and ally boon components of the skill now each have separate 5-target caps. The skill no longer applies quickness and alacrity to allies the wave passes through. Instead, it applies swiftness for 5 seconds and 5 stacks of might for 15 seconds in a radius of 360 when cast. The trait sees the moment. By the way, that's going to make this much easier to aim. You won't have to be like back up and have everyone in a line in front of you. It just pulses out from you. Those are always nice. The trait Seize the Moment now also adds 5 seconds of quickness, while Stretch Time, formerly Lost Time, adds 5 seconds of alacrity. Damage coefficient increase from 0.8 to 1.3 in PvE only. Okay. All right. So we got some skills for quickness and some skills for alacrity. They told us in the teaser a little while back that the Chrono would be able to provide either one, but they would have to choose. They can't do both. Well of Action now provides super speed to allies on the final pulse instead of quickness. Well of Recall, renamed Well of Senility. Senility now removes 2 boons from enemy targets on the final pulse instead of providing alacrity to allies. Okay. Necromancer. Oh boy, in the preview for Necro, they said that they were going to get some healing options. Warhorn. Wail of Doom. This skill now inflicts 1 second of fear instead of 2 seconds of daze on enemies. The skill inflicts bonus Defiance bar damage on defiant enemies. Locust Swarm. This skill now heals nearby allies around the Necromancer based on the number of enemies hit, in addition to its previous effects. That's pretty cool. Locust Swarm currently, when they activate it, they get the bugs swirling around them, it does some damage around them, it gives them some Shroud, I believe, and gives swiftness. Now it does healing. So Warhorn might be used more often. Well, Warhorn right now is in support Necro builds, but it's usually like the second offhand weapon. You just swap to it for interrupts. This might have it see the light of day more. Utility, Corrosive Poison Cloud, reduce the duration from 8 to 6 in PvP only. That's the thing that deletes all enemy projectiles that pass through it. So, 8 seconds of no projectiles is a lot of time to just 100% shut down certain builds. So, I'm not really surprised by this. Soul Reaping, Death Perception. This trait now gives 10% crit chance regardless of whether the Necro is in Shroud. The trait now increases crit damage by 15% instead of increasing ferocity while in Shroud. Blood Magic, Blood Bank. You don't see this one used much. Basically, when they get overhealed, they can get higher maximum hit points for a time. Now also converts incoming healing from healing over time effects, such as regen, into barrier. This effect now only occurs while in combat. To account for healing over time effects now activating the trait, the percentage of incoming healing converted to barrier has been reduced from 15 to 10 in PvE, and from 10 to 5 in PvP and Warby World. Okay. Banshee's Wail. This trait now grants a 10% bonus to outgoing healing effectiveness, in addition to its previous effects. Okay. Reaper. Nightfall. Reduced cooldown from 25 to 20 seconds in PvP World v World. That is one of the Greatsword skills. I think the one that removes boons. Grasping Darkness. Reduced cooldown from 25 to 20 in PvP and World v World. That's the sword pull, the Greatsword pull, I believe. Your Soul is Mine. Increased base heal. That's the shout heal on the Reaper. From 4,500 to 6,100. That's like a 33% increase. That's pretty substantial. Increased base life force regeneration from 5 to 10% PvP and World v World. You are all weaklings. Increased weakness duration on enemies from 3 to 5 seconds PvP and World v World. Increased base might stacks from 5 to 8 in PvP World v World. Chilled to the Bone. Reduce the cooldown from 75 seconds to 60 seconds PvP and World v World. That's the elite skill that freezes people around you solid. 1 minute cooldown on that. Oof. It's getting the MOA treatment. Harbinger, elixirs. All elixirs now use normal projectile targeting underwater instead of using ground targeting. Okay, so that is very similar to a ranger that is in like a druid form, astral form. So for example, if I am trying to, throw this on land, I throw it and it gives boons in that area. Underwater, the same type of thing for the elixirs just did not work before. A ranger, however, if they're trying to do a astral form spell that's ground targeted underwater, it just goes to their target. So if you're nuking the boss, even with a heal, even if your allies are all clustered around the boss, you'll heal them all. Or if you have to, target the ally directly. But you could still use the skills underwater. So this is good. This is basically making them in line with some of what the other classes can do. Oh, I just realized they didn't give me underwater mechs. Elixirs work underwater, but not mechs made from the power of the Jade Sea Dragon. Okay. Elixir of Ambition, reduce the might stacks from 25 to 10 in PvP only. Okay. Ranger, Spirits. They did say that Spirits and Banners were getting a major rework. Spirit skills now affect 5 allies, down from 10. Spirits no longer apply effects when an ally in the radius strikes an enemy. Instead, each spirit applies a boon to allied targets in the radius at each 3-second interval. The Nature's Vengeance trait increases the base duration of the boons by 50% and causes spirits' activated skills to provide alacrity in the area. So for those that don't play spirits, basically every 3 seconds they would pulse a buff out. The Sun Spirit, for example, would give you a buff that on your next hit you would apply a burning, and it had a 10-second cooldown before you could burn again. But it would put out the buff every 3 seconds, so it could hit a lot of people. The Stone Spirit, every time you attack, you would get a few seconds of protection when it had a cooldown. So I'm wondering, with this new change to the plus 50% duration, if Stone Spirit could possibly keep up full uptime on protection, because before it could not. Sun Spirit and Frost Spirit did not apply boons. Frost Spirit was a 5% damage increase, and Sun Spirit was an additional condition was added to attacks. So 1 for power, 1 for Condi. So I'm guessing they're going to get some boons. Oh, I need only keep reading. Spirits and their applied boons will be as follows. Water Spirit is regeneration. Sun Spirit is vigor. Ooh. Storm is fury. No one ever used Storm. Storm basically was like you can apply vulnerability on attacks, which is certainly fantastic. However, every class in the game can do vulnerabilities, so it was almost never needed. Stone Spirit is protection. Frost Spirit is might. I don't see any talk. Okay, so that's the 4 utility spirits and the healing spirit, but there's no mention of the elite skill spirit. So I guess that one is still exactly the same. So the elite skill one is the one that applies healing, and then you can activate it to do an AoE res. Beast Mastery, Pack Alpha, fixed an issue with certain ranger pet skills not having their skill recharges reduced or reduced incorrectly by this trait. I didn't even know about that bug. Marksmanship. Clarion Bond fixed a bug that caused the icon shown by Clarion Bond to remain on the skill bar even after its effect is triggered. Nature Magic. Nature's Vengeance. This trait now increases Spirit's base boon durations by 50% and causes Spirit-activated skills to apply Alacrity for 4 seconds on up to 5 allied targets in the area. So really, once we see the cooldown of the activated skills, plus the 4 seconds, and then add in if you full concentration gear, that could be 8 seconds. I'm wondering how many spirits it will require for you to have on your bar to be able to keep up 100% alack uptime on your party. Like, spirits aren't bad. They're giving all these other boons too, so it's not like a bad thing to have to use a couple spirits if you have to do alacrity. But also, it'll depend on the area. If you're in a fractal or something with a lot of movement, you're not going to be providing alacrity because you're going to be leaving those spirits behind you. The alacrity is going to be coming from this anchored thing in the ground. So we'll see how that works out. But this is very cool. I like that they're trying this. Skirmishing Spotter. This is the one that used to give Perception. This trait has been reworked. It now grants Fury to allies in combat, applying Fury with a 3-second trait on a 10-second cooldown. Okay, so even with max boon duration, it would be 6-second duration, 10-second interval, so you would need something else to help give max Fury. Like maybe Spotter plus Storm Spirit. Honestly, Spotter and Storm, even if you're DPS, might be almost enough. Hunter's Tactics, bonus damage while flanking increased from 10 to 15%. In PvE, Vicious Quarry, bonus crit chance from Fury increased from 10 to 15% in PvE. Druid, Grace of the Land, might applied on activation, reduced to 1 stack for a 10-second duration in PvE only. So, just on its own, that makes it more difficult to keep might up. Druids, for example, their astral form was, I think it was 4, it's been a while since I played my druid, would do pulsing heal 5 ticks. And since it did 5 ticks, it would activate the might trait, which gave 2 might, which would be a total of 10 stacks of might. So you could do 5 ticks, do another skill, do the 5 ticks again, and you would be close to 25 stacks. This is going to half that. This is going to absolutely half that. However, you do get some might generation from Warhorn 5, and I guess you could use Frost Spirit if you had to make up for that. But we'll see how it is in practice. Lingering Light. Now, Lingering Light was rarely taken. Before, it gave, I think, a 50% boost to Astral Healing, but it competed against the Might one, and everybody wanted their Druid to give a Might, so no one ever got the chance to take this unless they were like the second Druid. Now gives passive Astral Force generation while not in Celestial Avatar form. Oh my god. Real talk, I think the Celestial Power Astral Force generation is one of the worst resource systems in the game. It's like Death Shroud, but it doesn't prevent damage, and you have to have the bar 100% to activate it. You can't activate it with less than that. And also, it didn't generate out of combat. So this is a nice thing. While in Celestial Avatar form, grants 20% increase outgoing healing, as well as 10% increase outgoing healing for 10 seconds after exiting Celestial Avatar. So they're rewarding you for going into and out of Avatar a lot. Natural Mender, increased outgoing healing bonus per stack from 1% to 1.5% in PvP and War v World. Glyph of Unity, Celestial Avatar, healing of tethered allies may now occur once every 0.5 second interval. Healing can now be triggered by regeneration or other healing over time effects on the player. Glyph of Unity, Celestial Avatar, healing of... Interesting. That is one I don't see used... I mean, most of the Druid glyphs are pretty bad. That's why they're almost never seen. The only one you usually see much is Glyph of the Tides, which is the knockback one, if you need knockbacks on a certain fight. So, I have to test this and see if it's good. Ancestral Grace increased healing attribute scaling from 0.5 to 1.0 in PvP and World v World. Okay? Soul Beast. Leader of the Pack. In PvE, the personal stance duration granted by this trait has been reduced to match the PvP value of 20%. One Wolf Pack. In PvE, the recharge reduced from 80 seconds to 60, and duration reduced from 8 to 6 seconds, matching the PvP values. In PvE only, the damage coefficient per strike increased from 0.63 to 0.95. 20 seconds shorter cooldown and 50% higher coefficient. It's 2 seconds shorter duration, but that's worth. Interval between strikes increased to 1 second. Ooh, that's a little different. Interval between strikes. So that interval, man, I was so hype, and then that last part kind of takes it back down a few pegs. Because this means that, like, what, you could activate it 6 times at the most? Still much more powerful per hit. Have to see how it shows up on a target dummy. Untamed. Hammer. Heavy Smash. Damage coefficient increased from 1.2 to 1.4 in PvE. Wild Swing. Damage coefficient increased from 1.0 to 1.5. I'm not surprised that Untamed has been kind of lackluster. Ranger Pets. Poisonous Maul from the Juvenile Morello fixed an issue in which the poison duration and number of stacks did not match the tooltip. Icy Maul from Polar Bear? We're buffing Polar Bear? Fixed an issue in which the incorrect condition was being applied to enemies. Oh, never mind. It's just a bug fix. They're not buffing Polar Bear. Sad pet noises. Oh, man. Revenant. Ancient Echo. This skill now grants regen instead of alacrity in Legendary Centaur stance. Rejuvenating Assault. This skill no longer creates healing orbs and instead just heals allies around the Revenant. I think that's good. Relying on other people to pick up knickknacks off the ground is never a good healing option because the people that need the heals are usually the ones doing the most not smart things. Devastation. Assassin's Presence. This trait has been reworked and now grants Fury to allies while in combat, applying Fury with a 3-second duration on a 10-second interval. Legendary Centaur Stance. After summoning Ventari's Tablet, the next Legendary Centaur skill will be Empowered. This occurs when entering Legendary Centaur Stance or when using Project Tranquility. Natural Harmony. Healing is increased and endurance is granted to affected allies. Purifying Essence. Additional conditions are removed. Protective Solace. Grant protection to allies in the area. Energy Expulsion. Knockdown duration is increased. Project Tranquility. This skill now activates instantly. Increased base pulse heal from 325 to 363 in PvE only. Ventari's Will. This skill no longer has an energy cost. Reduced cooldown from 3 seconds to 0.25 seconds. This skill no longer heals allies. Natural Harmony. Increased healing attribute scaling from 2.25 to 2.75 in PvE only. Increased heal attribute scaling from 1.25 to 1.75 in PvP and World v World. Energy Expulsion. This skill no longer creates healing fragments and instead just heals and removes conditions from allies in the area. Again, I think that's good. Same reasoning I gave earlier. The skill no longer consumes all energy when used. Increased energy cost from 10 to 35. This skill now knocks down enemies it strikes instead of knocking them back. So, TLDR, I don't have a, nitty-gritty details to share on this stuff because I don't have a lot of experience playing a Revenant healer. I tried it very briefly long ago. I didn't like the energy management system. However, the bottom line is they're drastically buffing Revenant's ability to heal. And we will see if they can become a primary healer with this change, or more of a popular one, I should say. Legendary Demon Stance, Banish Enchantment, increase the energy cost from 20 to 30 in World v World only. That's the one of the boon removal tools of the Revenant. Salvation. Healer's Gift. This trait no longer creates a healing orb. It instead heals nearby allies after completing a dodge. Wow. Blinding Truths. This trait now has an internal cooldown of 3 seconds of PvE in World v World. The 10-second interval cooldown in PvP is unchanged. Vital Blessing. This trait has been removed. Invoking Harmony has been moved to this slot. Tranquil Balance. This trait has been removed and replaced with Eluding Nullification. Eluding Nullification removes a condition for nearby allies at the end of the player's dodge roll. What? What? Oh, we've never seen anything like this. So it affects another player when they dodge. Hold on. Wait, hold on. I may have misunderstood this. I was thinking that this was an aura that, like, if you're standing here and Billy over there dodges, Billy cures a condition on himself. I'm rereading this like for the third time. Now I'm thinking it's like when you dodge, you cure a condition from all nearby allies. I wonder what. Okay. Hey, I just came up with an idea for a new mechanic. I'm wondering what the internal cooldown on that is. That would be kind of funny just watching them panic rolling all over the place to cure conditions. Stop, drop, and roll. They should call it stop, drop, and roll. They really should. Words of Censure. This trait no longer creates a healing orb and instead heals nearby allies when blinding, immobilizing, or affecting a foe with CC. Fortified Blessing. This trait fills the slot previously held by invoking Harmony. Gain protection when you remove a condition from an ally. Internal cooldown of 0.25 seconds. Serene Rejuvenation. Increase outgoing healing bonus from 15 to 20 in PvE and from 10 to 15 in PvP and World v World. This trait no longer causes Natural Harmony to grant Alacrity. Instead, it causes Legendary Centaur stance skills to apply the following boons. Natural Harmony gives Vigor, Purifying Essence gives Regen, Protective Solace gives Swiftness, and Energy Expulsion gives Resistance. Generous Abundance. This trait no longer creates healing orbs and instead heals nearby allies when activating a legend skill. I'm starting to see a pattern here. Healing is increased and occurs around Ventari's tablet when using a legendary Centaur stance skill. Selfless Amplification. This trait has been removed and replaced with Invigorating Dismissal. Invigorating Dismissal. This trait grants endurance when the Revenant removes a condition from an ally. Okay, Retribution. Oh my god, there's so much. How far? I'm like, these notes. Y'all can't see the scroll bar. I'm like 60% through it. Retribution, Planar Protection, increased internal cooldown from 20 to 30 seconds in PvP only. Herald, Forceful Persistence. In PvE only, the bonus damage per active upkeep Herald skill has been increased from 4% to 5%. The bonus damage per non-Herald active upkeep skill has been increased from 13 to 15. Draconic Echo. This trait now grants 1.5 seconds of quickness to allies when the Revenant uses a Consume skill in addition to its previous effects. Elemental Blast. Increased cooldown from 10 to 15 seconds. Damage multiplier increased from 1.15 to 1.5. Oh wow, they're buffing it? Weakness duration increased from 4 to 5 seconds. Chill duration increased from 2 to 3 seconds. Burning duration increased from 3 to 5. These changes are for PvE only. That is substantial. Elemental Blast was already a strong skill for them, and it's getting some serious PvE buffs. Burst of Strength. Increased cooldown from 12 to 15 seconds. Damage multiplier increased from 1.25 to 1.6 for PvE only. Vindicator. Energy Meld. Increased cooldown from 20 to 30 seconds in PvP only. Balance and Discord. Reduce base heal from 1100 to 800 in PvP only. Chat, I need a drink. Oh my goodness. I just said chat. I'm so used to streaming. YouTube audience, I need a drink. Thief Utility. Seal Area. Reduced duration from 8 to 5 in PvP. Hide in Shadows. Reduced cooldown from 40 to 30 in PvP. Blinding Powder. Reduced cooldown from 50 to 40 in PvP. Shadow Refuge. Reduced cooldown from 60 to 48 in PvP and World v World. So a lot of the ways of going invisible or blinding people are getting shorter cooldowns, so higher stealth uptime on thieves. Shadow Arts. Concealing Restoration. This trait has been removed and replaced by Merciful Ambush. Merciful Ambush. This trait has been moved to Adept Minor and now heals when entering or exiting stealth instead of applying a pulse heal upon entering stealth. Shielding Restoration. This trait fills the slot previously held by Merciful Ambush. It grants barriers to nearby allies after using a healing skill. Shadow's Embrace. This trait now removes a damaging condition when entering or exiting stealth instead of at every interval while in stealth. This effect also applies to stealth granted to allies. That's pretty cool. Hidden Thief. This trait has been reworked. Stealing now inflicts blindness and stealth attacks inflict weakness. Meld with Shadows has been reworked. And players now gain super speed when entering or exiting stealth. Oh wow, that sounds fun. Leeching Venoms. This trait now grants stacks of Spider Venom when entering or exiting stealth instead of every interval while in stealth. Flickering Shadows. This trait has been removed and replaced by Cloaked in Shadow. Cloaked in Shadow. This trait fills the slot that was previously held... Wait. What? Oh no. Cover of Shadow fills the slot previously held by Cloaked in Shadow. Players now gain protection when entering or exiting stealth. This effect also applies to stealth granted to allies. Shadow's Rejuvenation. This trait no longer grants healing or initiative while in stealth, and instead grants initiative when entering or exiting stealth. Rending Shade. Increased the number of boons stolen from 1 to 2 in PvP and World v World. Critical Strikes. Keen Observer. Critical chance bonus increased from 10 to 15 in PvE only. Unrelenting Strikes. This trait may now activate on any critical hit, granting 4 seconds of Fury on up to 5 allies in a circle with a range of 360. Internal cooldown is 8 seconds. Trickery, Thrill of the Game, Might stacks granted increase from 3 to 5 in PvE only. Spectre, Traversing Dusk, reduced base shadow force gain from 5 to 3 in PvE only. Okay, wow, there is a lot of changes here. I'm wondering, so I'm not very familiar with the most popular Spectre support builds. I'm wondering if any of this will be impacting that. I would love to hear y'all's opinions if there's any Spectre mains in the comments, or if this will mostly be targeted toward like PvP stuff. Very interested in hearing that. Warrior, Warhorn, Charge. This skill no longer grants allies increased damage on their next 2 attacks. Instead, they grant 2 seconds of quickness to allies. Cooldown increase from 15 to 20 seconds. Swiftness duration increase from 15 to 20 seconds. Banners. Banners no longer provide attribute bonuses to allies. Instead, quickness is granted to allies in the area when the warrior uses the banner skill, and then the banner will continue to pulse boons to nearby allies for the remainder of its duration. Each banner provides a different boon as follows. Banner of Defense is Resistance for 1 second. Banner of Discipline is Fury for 1 second. Banner of Strength is Might for 5. Banner of Tactics is Regen for 1. Not Resistance, though. Picking up a banner no longer reduces the recharge time of the skill. Instead, they can be carried around and dropped to reposition them. Picking up a banner does not grant the warrior additional skills, but they will continue to pulse their associated boons when picked up. The delay before you can pick up a drop banner has been increased from 1 second to 3 seconds. All banners except Battle Standard recharge time reduced from 80 to 60 seconds. Battle Standard recharge time reduced from 180 to 120. Reduced base duration of pulsing boons applied by this banner as follows. Might reduced from 10 to 5, Fury reduced from 3 to 1, Swiftness reduced from 3 to 1. Double Standards, this trait now increases the duration of all boons from banners by 50%. Wow. Alright. Longbow. Scorched Earth. Reduced power coefficient per strike from 0.5 to 0.35 in World v. World. Fan of Fire. Increased power coefficient per strike from 0.39 to 0.44 in PvP World v. World. Arcing Arrow. Increased ammo count from 1 to 2 in PvP and World v. World. Ammo skills are fun. Pin Down. Reduced cooldown from 25 to 20 in PvP in World v. World. Utility. Frenzy, reduced cooldown from 45 to 40 in PvP and World v. World. Elite skills, Signet of Rage, clarified in the description that the passive adrenaline gain only applies in combat. Arms, Furious Burst, now also increases the crit chance from Fury by 5%. Tactics, Vigorous Shouts, increased healing attribute scaling from 1.2 to 1.32 in World v. World only. Increased healing attribute scaling from 0.75 to 1.0 in PvP only, making them a better healer. They have said before in previous posts that right now they are, was it Base Guardian, Tempest, and Warrior are the primary healers that they're focused on in PvP right now. So this further improves that. Spellbreaker. Breaching Strike, increased power coefficient from 1.9 to 1.2, sorry, 0.9 to 1.2 in PvP World v. World. Aura Slicer, increased power coefficient to 1.2 to 1.32, minor buff. Blade Storm, increased power coefficient per strike from 0.23 to 0.28. That's almost a 33% buff. Featherfoot Grace, reduced cooldown from 45 seconds to 35 seconds of PvP World v. World. Bladesworn, Electric Fence, now blocks projectiles in addition to other effects. Oh, we might actually see it sometimes now. Bulletproof Barrier, the skill has been removed and replaced by Overcharged Cartridges. But overcharged cartridges, using this skill makes your next 5 explosion attacks do 15% more damage. Using this skill again while you have charges triggers Detonate Cartridges. Detonate Cartridges, using overcharged cartridges the second time, consumes all remaining charges to cause an explosion in front of the blade swarm that launches enemies. The radius of the skill scales based on the number of charges consumed. Dragon Spike Mine, reduce the distance moved by 66%, reduce the total duration of the skill by 33%. The mine is now planted at the Bladesworn's initial location rather than midway through the skill, and it explodes after 3 seconds even when not triggered. The skill now counts as an explosion skill. Damage increased by 250% in PvE. Cooldown reduced from 35 to 20 in PvE. So you're just dropping literal bombs at your feet. Dragon Slash increased Dragon Slash Reach increased the projectile size by 67%. The skill now strikes targets more accurately in relation to the width and height of the visual projectile. The projectile is now unblockable. Ugh. Tactical Reload. In addition to its previous effects, this skill now also causes the next dragon trigger used to gain charges more quickly. Daring Dragon. In addition to its previous effects, this trait also causes Tactical Reload to affect Dragon Trigger for the duration of the effect instead of just affecting the next Dragon Trigger. So if you timed it right, you could squeeze out multiple Dragon Triggers with a buff, I think. Lush Forest fixed an issue that prevented several skills from having their cooldowns properly reduced by this trait. Tactics. Empower allies. This trait has been reworked. It now grants might to allies while in combat, applying 5 stacks of might with a 10-second duration on a 10-second interval. Martial Cadence. This trait no longer reduces the recharge on weapon skills and now causes soldiers' focus to grant allies 3 seconds of quickness in addition to other effects. Oh, wow. There is a lot going on. There's a lot going on. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We might be seeing DPS Boon Warriors, DPS Spirit Rangers, Boon Support Rangers that were providing different stuff from what they used to, healing Necros, healing support engineers that aren't using medkits. There is all kinds of stuff in here. All kinds of stuff. I'm very eager for Tuesday to try some of this out. Well, that was like an hour of me talking. All right, well, those are the patch notes. As always, the link is in the description down below if you would like to read this yourself. If you have any insight into any of this that I have missed, I welcome it. Put it in the comments down below. Discussion is good, and let's see what y'all got. But with that, those are the patch notes and the updates for today. If you haven't already seen it, there was another video that came out today with notes on the World v World changes. If you would like to see that, you can see that coming up next. And yeah, with that, y'all have a good one, and I'll see y'all in the next video.